Hey there, Russ here. Welcome back to the shop. I thought I'd take a quick moment here and let's talk about this little fella right here. Remember I bought that RD6018 power supply? So I have mounted it in this box here. I made this box for it out of some old pallet wood. And I know it's a little bulkier than you normally see in these things, but it's easy. I put a handle on it so it's easy to carry. Got a plug-in back here for the electric cord. I store the electric cord for this. This is a power switch, so I can turn it on and off from this switch after I plugged it in. And you open it up, that's where I store the cable and the leads for the front of the meter. So, which is here. So if I take this, and it's in the off position now, and if I plug it in, and I turn it on, and we should have, it boots up, and there we are. And it shows that we're getting a little over 24 volts, which is that power supply, that unit that I bought. It's an AC to DC 24 volt, 15 amp. Supply, which is more than enough for what I'm doing here for now. But this, I'm not done with this. I also want to add a switch on it and put another plug-in back here where I can plug in another DC supply. Like if I had a bank of batteries, I could just hook up to that and plug it in. For example, I could take 3 Ryobi batteries, like you saw that on one of my past episodes, and I hooked them all up in series, and I hooked it up to the meter to get 60 volts out of this. So I want to be able to have a switch on this to go between the power source being a 110 outlet or regular DC supply. So, and I just think that would be a nice little feature to add to it. It's really not going to be complicated. The only reason I haven't done it yet is I ordered some of the parts and they're on a slow boat from China to get here. So when I get the other parts that I need, then I'll come and convert this so that it also can run off of a DC power source or an AC power source. So I'm very happy, very pleased with it. It's everything is self-contained, which is one of the things that I really wanted, because I don't have this on a workbench like you see a lot of labs would do. I would have to get this out to use it most of the time because of the way I set up in my shop, even for electrical stuff. So, but I also have these. These are the 3 leads that I have, and they're pretty good leads. I bought them a while back. The banana plug-ins that also piggyback, and then it has the alligator clip on this end that you can either use the banana or the alligator clip on it. And I have a couple other attachments that go on here. So it's a nice little set of leads, and this should be more than enough. So I keep this all, one for each of the different terminals, the red, black, and green, which we have here. That way I can use the appropriate cable when I go to use this. And again, it just stores inside the case, nice and neat, everything. I'm probably going to put a cover over this little wire area right in here to help protect the wiring right here. But I have to figure out where I'm going to put my switch and my plug-in for my DC current. And I'm not quite sure where on here I'm going to do that. Then I'm going to start thinking about if I can cut the size down. I would love to cut this down in size, but we'll have to see. I might have to put a latch on here. Right now I don't seem to have to. It's a nice snug fit. I have this beveled so it goes in there and it wedges in when I push it down all the way. And so far that seems to be more than enough to hold it closed. So we'll play it with like this. I am going to be making changes and improvements to it as I go along. It was just a very simple build. I took the pallet wood. I took one of those posts on the bottom of a pallet, the 4x4 post that you have, and I cut it into 3/8 inch strips. And then I took those and I built the box. I used that to buy the 4 sides of the box. I used 1/2 inch, 1/8 inch plywood and cut it out for this to fit into to get a perfect fit. And the same thing for the plug-in back here. And I just screwed it in on the end. Nothing fancy on the joinery. I know I used these hinges because I already had them. I got these in a junk coffee can that I bought at some garage sale someplace, and they were in there, a whole bunch of them. So otherwise I would have just made some, which would probably be much nicer, and I may eventually, you never know. So but I'm very happy with the way this is at this point, and it is fully functional. I now can pull 24 volts up to 15 amps if I want to on this thing. So that ain't bad. It's a good start, and it's really going to be all I really should need most of the time. If I need more than that, if I get my DC connector done, then I'll be able to hook up maybe 3 Ryobi batteries to get up to 60 volts or something. So I'll get my buck converter. I have a buck converter that I can do something with too. That's a really nice one. A Drock. So anyway, I wanted to show this off a little bit. If you have any suggestions on how to make it better, let me know. But like I said, it's definitely going to be changing from here. Something else I wanted to mention to you. Well, 2 things really. We got our first snow. Can you believe it? It's not even Thanksgiving, and already here in Wisconsin we got our first snow, about 4 inches. And we got a flurry of snow today. It didn't really add much to it, and it's melting off pretty fast. What we have. The roads were clear almost immediately. They never built up because of the warmth of the ground. It's still not frozen, so the roads are just all dry. So it made for a really beautiful snow. You had all this snow on all the top of your tree branches and every place on the roofs. Nice, clean looking snow. No footprints. It was really nice when you first look out. And the roads are all nice and clear. So now it's winter. Anyway. It's something to look forward to. It's a change of seasons, and that's what we have. So we'll just have to work this out. And speaking of being in the winter, that's the other thing I want to talk about, is that I got a statement or a question about my FOGS procedures. Forced off-grid survival, FOGS. Because, hey, I'm on the grid. I like being on the grid. I don't care. I just use whatever power I need to do the things I need to do. I'm not exorbitant, but I don't want to have to try to pace myself with a battery and solar panels for a living. So the only time I need to have power is that if mine goes down, I want to have some battery packs that I can plug into some strategic things and run. And I have to be able to survive staying in my house when the power goes out, especially if it goes out for several days. So I have some ideas and thoughts, and that's my whole FOGS program. Anyway, he was asking me about my idea about what about heat. And up to now, I never really gave that much thought, because when I was talking about FOGS, I'm always thinking about the electric power going off. I never thought about, I have natural gas, pipeline underground. So even when the power goes off, that's still there. So we have all that still. So I can still cook. I can run my generator to run my furnace whenever it needs to, if I need to. But I really thought about, well, what about if I had to go days without electrical power or the gas? What am I going to do to keep the house warm, especially if it was very cold out? And that way, that could drive me out of the house pretty quick. So it dawned on me. I've done a lot of different things for heating homes inexpensively. I've done wood stoves. I've done a coal burner. Built my own on several occasions. And one of the things I used toward the end of my using supplemental heat was I got into using the kerosene heaters, those kerosene heaters. And I have to tell you, I still think that's the best method, especially for emergency heat. The big one, the 23,000 BTU or so, the real tall, slender, chimney-looking ones, those things are the best for heating a larger area. And I've heated a 1,600 square foot house all winter long, more than once, through the winter with that size, with one of those kerosenes. So I've decided, I have 2 of them that I've been in storage since I moved here. I've used them before, but it's been 15 years since I've used those kerosenes. And I was thinking, man, do I have a mess here? Do I have to fix these things up? So I've got them out here on the floor. Here, let me show you. These are the 2 right here. One of them is the original kerosene that you could buy. That one right back there. This one is a little newer model, but it's the same thing. I've got the top cage off of it. It's got the side cage still, but the top cage is removable. And I took it off because I'm going to have to work on it. That one is half full of kerosene. So that kerosene's been in there for a long time. I also got 2 of these little cans right there. That's a 5-gallon can. I had 2 of those. So I can store 10 gallons of kerosene, and I can run one of these in the house, and it would use about 2 gallons a day. A little less than that probably, but let's say 2 gallons a day of kerosene. And if that's the case, that would give me 5 days of kerosene, of heating for 24 hours a day if I had to. So that gives me a cushion time that if I lose my gas as well as my electric, I can break those out and use those for heating purposes without any problem. But I do have to get them out and wipe the mothballs off of them. So, and that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to buy some kerosene. That will help me be able to, in an emergency, have heat in my house and in my shop by running both of these, one in each place. And like I said, I've run these things in my shop when I had, before I had my operation and ended up moving and retiring. That wood shop, I ran that kerosene in there 24 hours a day, all winter long. And that was a 3-car garage type size shop with cathedral ceilings in it. So it was heating a big area. And that thing had no problem keeping it nice and toasty in there all winter long, even in the cold here in it was in northern Illinois, about 30 miles from here. So I know these kerosenes. I know them real well. I've used them for years and years. And I have to say they are my favorite way, especially for emergency heat. Those things really work well. They put out a lot of heat. If you have to, you can cook on those. So they are a very handy thing to have around. And kerosene, we're going to find out, because I've heard both stories where, no, after a while the kerosene's no good, that, it goes bad. Nothing like gasoline. Gasoline goes bad pretty quick. Like, after a year, you're on borrowed time, maybe even less. Whereas the kerosene, I've heard 10 years on those. Me, this kerosene's closer to 15 years old, so we're going to find out if it even works. I have a wick in that one still. I have to assume that it's working fine if I left it full of kerosene like that. The other one's empty. So that one I'm going to have to take apart and look a little closer at it. It'll take a little more work to get it cleaned up and make sure it's working. I've got one wick. So if I have to, I can replace wick in one of them. If I need to replace either one, I don't know. I think they both had good working wicks in them when I stopped using them. So I don't think it'll be a problem for being able to refire these up again. And I don't know why I can't. And worst case scenario, like I said, is I have to clean out the kerosene and buy new kerosene to run it. So we're going to find out. I've got about 2 gallons of whole kerosene too that I didn't realize I had when I was looking for all my stuff. A little 2-gallon container. So if I can burn that, that'll be kind of cool. And it'll give us the lesson that nobody out there on the internet seemed to know for sure. We're going to find out if we can burn kerosene from 15 years ago. So stay tuned for that. If you want to make a bet on it, let me know. Or a prediction, I should say, not a bet. If you want to make a prediction of whether or not that will work, I would love to know what your opinions are out there or any experience with it. And also, just curious, if you lose all power and you can't heat at home, how would you heat your home? Do you have an alternative? And I would love to get into talking about that a lot more because I do have and talk about some of my experience with some other type of of heating that will allow you to heat a pretty large area for a very minimum amount of effort, if you're smart about how you do it and what kind of unit you buy. And I'd love to talk about that if you guys are interested. So if you are, let me know, because there's a lot of choices out there besides kerosene that you could do. You can also do propane. You could do wood burning, wood pellets, and there's a lot of other alternative fuel ones that you could buy, that you could use. So anyway, there's a lot out there, and I would like to, if you want, I would love to tell you my ideas about how to have a good wood stove that would very easily heat a whole house without any problem. That wouldn't be hard. That would all be self-built. So I have some thoughts about it. I don't think I would ever do that here at this point. That'd be too much work for me. I don't think I need to be that desperate about us being desolate out here and not being able to have heat for months at a time. I don't see that happening. It is somewhat civilized around here. So anyway, just like to know what your thoughts are. I think I'm done rambling because that's what I was doing. If you have any questions or thoughts about any of this stuff, let me know. Tell me what you think of this. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. And like I said, we're not done. We still got some more bells and whistles for this thing to make. So, but it does work. I'm tickled to death to have it. Anyway, if you learned something here, you like this video, hit that like button. Lets me know that I'm doing something right. Most importantly, though, if you would, please come back again because I'm nowhere near done. Except with coffee. Anyway, thanks for coming by, and we'll see you guys again real soon.